Hello, my name is Chitta. I am one of Bante's students, and we decided to try and help Bante because he doesn't live at a fixed monastery. Wherever he goes becomes a monastery, and therefore he doesn't have a fixed donation box where people can make offerings. So we've added a link below that you can make a donation to help protect the sasana and help support this wonderful monk if you feel that way inclined. Thank you. Be well.
Living the holy life requires you to go vertical as opposed to staying horizontal. Living a mundane, mediocre life and living a life that is all about the status quo, maintaining it. It is, in a sense, what oftentimes is mistakenly called comfortable life, a comfortable life, a life that, takes you from one day to the next, goes from one day to the next, while you do work, while you do your studies, while you engage with your social activities, people, friends, family, relationships, companionships. World politics, or any kind of politics, and you stay in that level and you stay there, and it's comfortable for the majority. This is the majority. This is the lifestyle of the majority, where the mundane is perpetually maintained, or at least the desire for it to be perpetual, unending. Unending while it is being sprinkled and peppered with new experiences, new quote-unquote, of course, to give you that extra little, just enough excitements here and there to make you feel that you are not in the mundane. Meanwhile, you're going back to the mundane when that spike, when that jolt, that short-lived, exciting experience dissipates. Because right after that, what happens is the mind goes and says, okay, let me prepare for another one. This is in the Dhamma also referred to as pono bhavika, the desire to become, the longing to re-become, the craving to become again, to exist, to take shape, another shape, to take it, not just about another life after this one. Yes, that's also the same term that is used, but we do that also in our daily life. When something happens and then you want to jump to because it dissipates its intensity, its gorgeousness, its deliciousness, its spike that I was mentioning, its unusualness, the promise of being gratified is not there. Even though you engage, then you tell yourself, yes, I got it, I received it, I'm there, but where is it? Poof. It leaves you, in a sense, empty-handed. It's very momentary, and then it's gone. And then what happens? The mind says, don't worry, we got this. There's that other thing over there, let's go after that. And you never, ever question the mind. We just follow it obediently. more obediently than a dog, your dog. If you're walking a dog, if you've ever walked a dog on a leash, you know that as you take the dog outside for walking, as the dog sniffs a tree or something or any object, it's going to stop. And it's going to make you stop, depending on the size of the dog. You're going to struggle sometimes to pull on the leash. No, let's go, let's go. We're not stopping it, but the dog wants to stay. We're not even like that. We're even more obedient when it comes to Pono Bhavika, the desire to re-become. And then there is another term, Tatra Tatra Ninandini, Lord Buddha says, and that is the delighting here and there, constantly. Tatra Tatra means here and there. A little bit here, a little bit there. You're never stationed. That's what keeps our attention going. That's what keeps our alertness muddled. That's how we don't have sharp, intuitive awareness. Because in order for you to be intuitive, and especially intuitively aware, you need to be sharp. You need to be present. So, when we are living a mundane life, and mundane doesn't necessarily only mean living a lay life, because sometimes that's how it is presented, and that is not correct. Because you could be living a lay life, not a monastic life, but you could be living it in such an extraordinary manner, where every day, every interaction, you choose to give yourself one of those spikes, at least one. In your interactions with people, in your meetings with people, you could become a bundle of energetic joy. You are intentionally willing to live the moment, to live the experience of whatever that moment presents to you, but without any agendas. Without saying to yourself, this is the most that this moment could turn into. Be. Because the moment you do that, you're putting yourself under this, as they say in socially nowadays, everyone knows this, the glass ceiling. You put a cap on yourself. You put a limitation upon life. I've always been curious as to why we do that. We have this convoluted sense of a comfortable life, as I was saying earlier, what we mistakenly call comfortable. This is not comfortable. It's like a person who, having been chained, a prisoner, locked inside of a cell, suddenly discovers, somebody comes and says, hey friend, there are no cameras outside. The gates are actually open. You see here, you hear this, the squeaking gates? They're unlocked. And by the way, this door, the cell door that you're inside, please don't think that it is locked. It doesn't have a padlock, it doesn't have any chains, you don't have any chains. Look at this, the door is open. Get up, let's go outside. You don't have any chains. And you say, no. It's very similar to that. We are imprisoned in our prisons, in our jails, in our jail cell. Of thinking that this is the best thing that could happen, this is the most that I can get out of life. That is staying on the horizontal level. In order for you to get up, you need to go vertical. In order for you to jump out of the mundane, you need to go vertical. And when I say vertical, up, these are powerful images. I used to have one of my teachers from many, many years ago when I used to do, I was a kid then, I was doing, practicing rather, Kyudo, which is Japanese Zen archery. And I had a very patient sensei. And the way he would touch the bow and he would show me how to first walk, I spent the longest time learning how to do the walk. And other students would come, other newbies would come, and they would just be handed the bow and they would say, the sensei would say, go ahead and walk. And with the bow. And I was without a bow for months. And then I did get a bow and arrow, so while walking. So walking in a meditative fashion. With the mind, you connecting with the mind. But so I would walk without a bow and an arrow. One bow in the bow in left hand and held in a certain way. But he was helping me, teaching me how to understand and appreciate both the horizontal and the vertical. And that reference, for the first time, was made by him when I was asking him a question. And he said, we have to go vertical. I didn't get it at the time. And to live an extraordinary life, you have to go vertical. To live the higher life, the noble life, the holy life, you have to go vertical. The chick that hatches breaks through the eggshell, must go vertical. Otherwise it will die inside the egg. It will never hatch. You need to have that audacity to break through the thick, thick, thick shell. You must revolt against that ignorance. You've reached a point where you understand, and now it's time for you to break through the concrete. Because the doors or the gates of that jail cell, that prison, are just there. But you have convinced yourself that this is it, I am a prisoner and there's no way out. So the desire to get up and get out is not even there. The dream of it might be. The longing for it. That's why a lot of people have that longing, empty yearning, empty longing, which is just nothing, meaningless. I'm reminded of a sutta where Lord Buddha gives an analogy, a metaphor, simile to some people who are listening, and he says, which I think, aptly use here. And that is about a man who goes around telling the people in the village, I love such and such a girl. I love her, I love her, I love her, I love her. I'm going crazy without her. I'm going crazy. I'm going to die if I don't have her, etc. And they take pity on her. Now they're curious and they say, okay, where is she? Who is she? You know, he says, I don't know. Do you know which region she comes from? He says, no, I don't know. Which family, which clan does she belong to? And he says, I'm sorry, but I don't know. Okay, what is her name? And she says, I don't know. He says, I don't know. What does she look like? I don't know. But I love her. Most beings have that kind of a relationship with the extraordinary. And that's where we stay. We never grow out of it. We are unshackled, but sitting in our jail cell. A cell that has doors that are not chained up, that are not locked. We just have to move, get up, open the door, and walk out. The other day, I think I was giving the example of being in a square room, perpetually going in circles, never leaving the room, which is not locked. No one can force you to get out. No one. Studying a path that leads you out of suffering, the teacher could make him or herself fully available to you, explaining. I've been in situations where I've done that, and I do that. That's why I chose this lifestyle, to help. But if the person is completely comfortable deep down to stay on the horizontal level, they're going to stay there. And all your efforts are going to go, well, wasted on them. Because no matter how often you come and shake that person, sitting there, drooping, head lowered, looking downward, he's saying, oh, this is it, this is it. They're not going to come out. They're not going to listen to you. Because for them, life is nothing but those tiny little spikes that they get in their experience. Those tiny little excitements, the mini exciting moments, which basically is, in other words, the seeking after experiences. And whether it's meditation, whether it's some aspect of experiencing the supramundane or something, they make up things. They make up, and they need to go and find a teacher or teachers who are like that. A lot of bells and whistles, but there's nothing underneath. You see a lot of those. And usually those are the ones that pop out of nowhere. You see them with millions and millions of followers or very flamboyant, very, cover of magazines and YouTube videos and things like that, where famous people, you see that. And those are mundane level functioning, unfortunately. But under the promise, with the promise of giving you or providing you with teachings that, or they themselves have to be there. And that's another thing. A teacher has to be vertical. All about that. And the ability to do that and to show people. That's why you're a teacher. You can't be in darkness while you're teaching others to come out of darkness. What is that? What is that? Well, that's exactly what today we have in the world. People talk about justice, people talk about truth, people talk about liberty, even democracy, human values, and compassionate values, kindness, empathy. And then you see them in their true light, and then you see what they are. They're just empty words, empty. So stop living an empty life, horizontal life. Look for the extraordinary. And just to clarify something that could come up in the mind of some, oftentimes it has been taught that to live the religious life you need to be in robes, and that's how you're living a vertical life. You're living outside of society. You're living an extraordinary life. That is the intention behind living the holy life. Is that going forth? Is that going forth is another way. In Pali, the term is pabbaja, to renounce and go forth. You move on. You move on and off the reservation in that sense. And this one is a wholesome rendition of that, interpretation of that. But basically, away from your old ways, your old tendencies, your habitual patterns, which is all about leaving the mediocre and the way you used to live life behind you. And that's not the case with all those who wear robes. Any tradition for that matter, but specifically in this tradition of Buddhism, or Buddhism as such, as monastics. So please don't be fooled in that, because that is, unfortunately, today when we say Buddhism as such, how people, the masses understand, those are the legs that, if I can call it that the Sangha is standing on, which is not the real noble holy life. And when I say the Sangha, those who you see often in robes, rare are those who really live the holy life. And that's an unfortunate reality. But you don't need to be worried about that. You don't need to be fighting with that. Lord Buddha says everybody's the inheritor of their own kamma. So the robes we wear are representations of something really noble and holy. It's not just a lifestyle. It is all about verticality. It's all about not being the mundane. It's all about looking for those opportunities during the day, in your mind and in the world that you make around you, extraordinary. And for that, you need to have yoniso manasikara. That is the key. That is the key, which is wise, radical attention of all that you make contact with. In your mind, through your six sense doors, which, as you guessed it, it takes a lot from you, but not that it depletes you. To the contrary, it gives you life in whatever you're doing. That's why it makes you feel amazing. You're no longer interested in what Pono Bhavika, or that promise of a better future. No. You're making your future now. You're making, in the sense that You're making your life become outstanding. What does that mean? Outstanding. What? Out. It's like the chick that hatches out of the egg. Standing is all about verticality. You're doing something. It's like that prisoner in the jail cell suddenly realizing, having that aha moment and getting up. That's what needs to happen. No one can take you, grab you by the arms and drag you out. No, that's not possible. The teacher will try. Lord Buddha has been trying for 2,600 years. No, even in his days, he had a lot of monks who were not interested in what he was offering. They liked what the monastic life was giving them. They were satisfied with the superficial, with the mundane, with the getting of the 4 requisites, for example, or the prestige or the respect that they were getting from society. People were giving them free stuff. That's what monastics have turned into most of the time nowadays in the world. Getting free stuff, getting recognition, being put on a pedestal, bowing, selling empty books. Etc., etc. Recognition, all these things. You don't need that. It's such a terrible burden for any monastic who wants to be living the holy life. It's too much. It's burdening. It's like dragging a container behind you. So, but this is not about others, this is about oneself. So can you make your life, whether you're working 9 to 5, whether you're overburdened with courses you have to study or teach, homework you have to do, meetings you have to go to, give yourself the opportunity to find the extraordinary. Be the one in the crowd who's looking always for the extraordinary. That is having the childlike eyes of curiosity, and that requires you to be precise in that moment. And don't worry, your heart will teach you to do that, so long as you're staying with what's happening. And that is maintaining wise radical attention, which I was referring to earlier, yoniso manasikara. That is how you will touch your intuitive awareness, your heart. That is you going vertical, outside, coming out of your shell, breaking through, and living an amazing life. And that can make you live, can give you the tools every day to rediscover yourself, which is the amazing part. Every day you're rediscovering yourself. You become a living adventure for yourself. From the outside, people looking at you, they might think, oh, poor, what is this? Absolutely life-sappingly boring. That's what they think. When it's actually the opposite, through and through. So, make your life count by coming out, away, standing up, living an outstanding life from the mediocre. But you only are the person who will be able to do that. For that, we need to have deep down the tiny little seed called chanda. Chanda means the desire, or that fervent intention, deep desire to want something. Without that, nothing gets accomplished, especially in the path. To walk this path, capital P, that we call the Dhamma, it's a practice, it's a training. You need to have that desire, which eventually you don't need, because you're on the right path. You've gotten yourself out of inertia, so you're good to go. So, but we need to start off with that desire. That's what's going to drag you back, your mind, from that coma-like state into wanting to have wise, radical attention, that to have mindfulness with you, that awareness, to be checking, am I happy? That's a good way of doing it. So you can even start from that. Asking yourself every so often during the day, did I really want to do that? Am I happy? And it's a two-way street. When you say, am I happy, and then the response comes, there needs to come a response. There needs to be that response, and you need to be listening. You're asking your heart a question. So you need to wait and listen. And it's immediate, but you have to at least give it the opportunity to respond. And once you realize that, no, that was unnecessary, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have, why did I engage in that conversation? Why did I call that person? I know where that's going to go. I'd rather sit quietly. Why did I watch that? I didn't have to do that, etc., etc. So it has both its active and passive aspect. So, yeah. It's all about breaking through from the mundane. That is the living of the lower life. That is living a life that is far beneath us, beneath our potential. But that's how most beings live. And when I say most, I mean over 99% of us live like that. Whether lay people or monastics. Makes no difference, the outfit. At times, students remind me of a simile I've used in the past to describe this process, the one that involves a person who goes digging for gold. You see, there were these two friends, and one of them was very rich and the other one was always complaining for being poor. So one day his rich friend had enough. He says, you know what, come to my farmhouse and just come over, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. So that person shows up, and his friend says, here you go, these are the keys to my farmhouse, this land, it's fenced out or fenced in. So I have gold underneath the soil. There's so much gold, I don't know what to do with it. I didn't bury it, it's there. So all you need to do is dig for it. And in fact, here are some shovels and digging utensils, and go for it. I'm going to, in fact, allow you to stay here for a whole week, and whatever you dig up is yours. I will not ask you for an ounce of it. I'm okay, I'm rich and I have more money than I need. I just need you to have this opportunity. I'm giving you this opportunity, this golden opportunity, literally. And now the person is so excited. He's like, really, really, really? He says, yes. Gives him the key and he drives off, leaving him there, the friend, the poor friend, the complainer. A week later, the rich friend shows up again, and he's back to his house, and he's stunned. He looks around the area, the farmland, and he just sees a series of holes, as if a gopher went through. He looks for his friend, and he sees him covered up in like dirt and stuff, and he's sitting on the porch, on the stairs. Shovels and things thrown aside. He looks mad, and he says, what happened? He says, you lied to me, his friend. You lied to me. There's no gold here. There's never been a gold. What is this sick joke? And he says, what are you talking about? There's gold here. He says, no, you lied. There's none. I've been digging and digging for a whole week. I didn't find a single ounce. He says, my friend, how deep did you go when you dug? He says, you see that hole over there? I dug deep. Like how deep? 3 feet? He says, and what about that one? I dug 5 feet. And then that one, I dug for about two feet, and then it didn't get me anything, and I just, he says, do you see what you've done? You never had to dig so many holes. You just had to have one decently dug up hole. If you had gone 5.5 feet, you would have hit such gold, amounts of gold, you would not have had to work ever again. He says, this whole ground underneath you is full of gold. You missed your opportunity. You don't have the right to complain anymore to me. He takes his keys and he says, get out. He lost. That getting out is a metaphor for life ending, when the body has to die. All those moments that we have of interacting with life, of living life, are moments of extraordinary living. Extraordinary could be while you're peeling your onions or potatoes, or cleaning your house, or shaving, or walking from this room to that room. When you bring in your intuitive, kind awareness, magical experiences start happening, where uncovering takes place. You're basically getting up from your prison cell. You're taking ownership of your life. That person was expecting a certain type of gold. It wasn't just his impatience. It wasn't just his greed that blinded him. But the other thing that was blinding him was, perhaps the big one, the biggest obstacle he had, was his expectations of how the gold was going to reveal itself to him. Maybe he was expecting actual, 33-ounce gold bars, or a kilogram of gold bars, nicely minted, or maybe coins, gold coins. Maybe he was expecting to find a bag full of coins. But nature doesn't give us gold like that. It's a jumbled up piece of what looks like dirt, solid, but here and there you might see a shiny part, yellowish, just a little bit. But if you're expecting the gold to be in the form of like a big 100-gram minted, shiny, polished piece of gold bar, that's never going to be seen by you. We go on living life expecting joy and happiness to be delivered to us. I don't know, maybe through an Amazon box or through something, an envelope, the shape of a certain individual um, um, coming through the door, looking at us in a certain way, accepting us, wanting us, situations, a promotion. All these are the outer cellophane wrapping the box that could be there, could not be there. But what's inside is what matters. Is there gold or not? That's another way of breaking through. All those are examples of the shell that I was talking about earlier. We have to break through. You need to give yourself an outstanding life, the chance to live an outstanding life, and it starts by your everyday experiences. When you dig, don't expect to have joy, wonderful things to be coming to you in a certain way, because you've already put that glass ceiling on life. You've limited yourself. You said, you're basically saying, I know what makes me happy. I know what will make me happy. So life, you better give me what makes me happy, which is exactly what, That's very condescending. That's very conceited. It's like an I know it all attitude. And that's why you're going to walk out empty-handed, dirty at the end of this life, having missed such a huge opportunity from having lived an extraordinary life, the possibility of it. Possibilities, plural. So, break from the horizontal, mundane life and go vertical.